Regular meeting for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota, March 15th, 2022. Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. Member Yeager, Member Schilling, Member Onstad, Member Luger, and Mayor Iverson are present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the City Council on items that are on or may not be on the current agenda. Items requiring action may be deferred to staff or boards and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. You will be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask that you conduct yourself in a professional, courteous manner and refrain from the use of profanity. Failure to abide by this policy may result in the loss of your privilege to speak. Do we have anybody here for open forum? We'll go with residents first. Seeing none, we'll move on to number 1, which is the Highway 8 update. Joe Triplett, County Engineer, Director of Public Works. And Commissioner Matska, correct.
So we do have a truck highway update for you. Commissioner's got some, at least funding news for that.
So this is we're talking between County Road 22 and Interstate.
We're from I-35 all the way over.
Yes.
Yeah, no,
I
we'll be talking about that later.
Oh, we will, okay,
Yeah,
very good.
we'll get into that.
So we're talking now about the Highway 8 project, and it's about a $70 million project total. And we have $35 million secured so far as a county, and that's been $19 million in a legislative appropriation from the state. We also have MnDOT on board. They've agreed that they're gonna chip in $16 million. We're pursuing $9 million in congressionally directed spending from our congressman, earmark, yes, yeah. High priority dollars under OVSTAR back in the old days.
Okay.
And we're pursuing also a raise grant, federal raise grant, maybe looking at $18 million there. The goal is, of course, to have this project done. It's a state project, but it's very important for our county without local county dollars involved. And also, our representative Ann New and Mark Rand are pushing legislation for $50 million from the state appropriations for this season, this legislative season. They have a surplus budget, so it's possible we could get the rest of it funded as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so on that, just to piggyback off Commissioner Monska, everybody knows there's money down with capital this year. You know, there's always, sometimes having more money isn't easier. We've been in front of the transportation committees a number of times. We've met with them individually a number of times. Everybody understands the importance and the need for trunk highway. So we've done a lot of that work, and then, you know, to their credit, we've already gotten almost $20 million out of it. So the state really, they've done most of the heavy lifting at this point. So we are really focusing on getting some federal dollars, as it is a U.S. highway, into it. The city and the fire department and chief police, Mr. Neal over there, we got letters of support from all of you that'll go in with our application. Those really, you know, everybody always asks, what can we do? Well, it's a federal raiser, discretionary program, but it's showing those different factions and those different government, those local agencies. It's showing what kind of support you get. So even on that front, again, that helps bolster our application. So then we'll be looking to get $15 to $18 million out of money this year. We had a really strong application last year and had a good debrief. And again, I think with some tweaks, we'll get there with the IIJA. See, there's over $1.5 billion into that pot of money this year, so they'll be able to fund more projects. And again, this one checks a lot of those boxes they like, especially with a multimodal aspect, the safety aspect. So we're really hoping to get some federal money into it. If we're successful in that, then MnDOT doesn't like to give federal dollars back. So I'm sure we'll get some assistance out of it.
Do we have Congressman Stauber on board with this as well? Okay, so do we need to meet with him again?
Well, so if we get him back this summer,
Yeah.
We'll let you know. We're
Yes,
trying, we're
Okay.
trying to get him, maybe not as a nice, a huge venue that we did last year.
Right.
But if we can get him in a town meeting for a board meeting or something. Same thing with both our senators. Klobuchar does come back, and so does Senator Smith.
Okay,
Just on a real outside chance of getting them in. I think one of Klobuchar's staffers is from Forest Lake.
yeah,
So we're trying to work some angles there, again, just to raise that profile. And actually, we've met with all of their staffs, and their staffs get it. Not only when I was out there in the fall, last fall I went out to DC to face-to-face with
Yeah.
everybody. That went great. We followed up with phone calls here in the last 3 weeks. Again, it's out there. I'm hoping the discretionary part of that is our congressional staff really getting to the DOT themselves, along with our efforts and our
Great.
applications.
I know that neither of those senators have been actually to the city of Wyoming, so I'd be more than happy to invite them personally to attend. So I think I'll do that.
Joe will be sure to invite the mayor,
Oh, yeah,
when any of the senators and congressmen are here.
it'll be a big deal if
Great.
it gets.
Yeah, it would be,
Okay.
right? They've never been here, so.
Yep.
Also, related to Highway 8, we have a reliever route, which is 19, Carver 19.
Mhm.
And right now on the plan, the road plan,
The Stacy
from
interchange?
staff, yeah, the
Yep.
station interchange, it's on for 2027. We're working on federal funding for that.
And state funding.
And state funding as well, and that will certainly help relieve Highway 8. Also, 17, if you could just cover that briefly, that's a major project that will also east-west relieve Highway 8, the traffic on it. So that's also an important safety thing as well.
So we're really working on our arterials, and, you know, the traffic numbers are the traffic numbers. We can't bury our head in the sand anymore.
Right.
And, despite what some of the census numbers, show, we have plats rolling across my desk all the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
So whether people actually filled them out, or if it happened in between, don't know, but we're still seeing a massive influx of new houses, of people, and with that comes traffic. Now, even with the, telecommuting options there are, we've now become a community up here. Way more than we are ag, and our road system sees that every day, 20-some thousand cars a day on Highway 8. We'll get into our interchange study over here at 22, but some of those numbers people just don't believe it, but they're there.
Yeah.
So we're trying to address those arterial, major collector type facilities, so that we can get people to those and then get them to the
Yeah.
interstate, or get them to the trunk highway
Great.
system and where they need.
Perfect. Well, hopefully you'll be able to stay, Commissioner Moska, to hear about our really large development coming in to Wyoming. So it'd be great if you could stay and kind of listen to what Wyoming will need for infrastructure and stuff. So that would be great.
So, and to that, I'll.
Madam Mayor, before we get off the subject of Highway 8, I had a resident contact me when he found out that you were coming. And the resident lives in the Hale, Hamlet, Hazel area of that Highway 8. They could not attend the meeting tonight, so they asked me to forward a couple of questions to you for them, and I'm sure they'll be watching for your answer. The resident wanted to know if a definitive decision has been made regarding the access points in that neighborhood. He wants to know where the road's coming out, basically.
So, it's gonna be, where Perry's is there, it's gonna be right there where.
Is that like Hale?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just west of there.
Uh,
Hamlet, yeah. So, right.
west of Hamlet?
Well, Hamlet would be.
Hamlet will be about where it's gonna be.
Oh, okay, so it's gonna be at
It's gonna
Hamlet.
Down further to the west, but again, that was a little too close for not only to Greenway, but then again, it's so tight in through there that we had to end up pushing that.
Okay. And then the resident was concerned where the backage road is going to go. Apparently, there's a couple of undeveloped properties, currently undeveloped properties between Hale and Hazel.
Yes, yep, so it'll go along the north side of those properties.
Okay, and then the north side of the, a fence line, I guess, I mean, he said something about a back fence of the property adjacent to the one we just rezoned.
Yes.
So that's
So
also,
It'll be, whether it straddles that property line, or we end up working with one property owner and the other property owner, that's, so that Hazel and Hamlet, they'll connect up behind there. So right now you have that bad skew across from the Candace place.
okay,
That'll go away and then it'll turn and go west and then meet up with Hazel.
okay,
And I shouldn't say, I should back up and say, we're about ready to submit, resubmit our layout to MinDOT. We had our initial submittal, it took them forever to go through and back and forth and back and forth. So we think we've addressed their comments, now it goes back to them, hopefully by the end of this week. And, so as soon as we get a MinDOT okay on these, as a matter of fact, they'll probably end up sending it out to the cities regardless. Here's what we're getting back to them, just so you guys have a chance to look at it as well. But it's been an awful lot of back and forth. It's their facility, but it gets kind of frustrating sometimes to, we want to put things here, or we want to see this done. So it's been a process, but hopefully we're coming to the end of that, because we've got to finish up our environmental doc and then get into our final design. So I can say sort of definitive,
Okay.
Member Yeager, but, I don't know if that was Dennis that got a hold of you, or not, but certainly if you guys get any questions, just feel free to direct them, and we'll do our best to do that.
Right?
okay.
So, and just real quickly across the interstate here, we're in the middle of our interchange and corridor study there, bit of 22 between Anoka County and I-35. A lot of growth there, as everybody understands. There's we have 10,000 cars a day on that stretch until you get down from McDonald's to about the ramps, and then it's the Wild West. So how we want to address all of those trips, all of the access, all of the safety concerns. So there's a lot we can do. So part of the study is going to lay out some options, and then what we'll have to get the city, the county, and MinDOT on board for what we want to see in there, and then I'll go get a bunch of money and we'll try and do that too. Because
Perfect.
again, the traffic isn't slowing down. It's
Right.
not getting any less. That bridge was only, I think, built 99 maybe.
Mhm.
And so we've got to try and get some more capacity out of that bridge, and if there's some different ways to do that, we'll find out. But really, it's that access point from the ramps, just past McDonald's is a real challenge and a real safety concern, especially with that bigger development coming in.
Yep.
What are we gonna do with all that traffic?
Right?
Anoka County continues to grow, and it's
Yep.
easier for people to jump on the interstate than to try and make their way over to 65,
Mhm.
so they're going to keep coming.
Yeah.
It's only, maybe a mile, 3/4 of a mile road, but
Yep.
there's a lot of usage on that road, and the sooner we get a handle on how we wanna see that, it'll help drive development, it'll help drive our funding scenarios, and certainly our road planning. So
Yeah. Well, Mr. Tribble, you've done a great job securing the money that you already have. So just excited that the city of Wyoming partners with the county.
Yeah.
So, and being able to get this done, because obviously it benefits every single person in the county, right? That tax base that comes, whether it be from residents or from businesses coming in, right? That benefits every single one of us. And so Wyoming's excited to be able to drive that, to be able to help the county.
Staff has been fantastic, even
Yeah.
Fred.
Yeah.
So
Even Fred, yes.
Really helpful.
And Fred.
Yes.
And again, I think we're meeting next week with, so we're trying to keep that grinding forward and try and get something that'll work now so that we're not impeding
Right.
development, but we still have to be smart and responsible about it as well. And,
Yeah.
and I think we'll be able to.
Good. Well, I look forward to seeing you next week.
Can I ask one more question? All right, so we have a sketch plan that we're going to be looking at. Since the traffic study is not complete, how does it affect that sketch plan? Will things just totally change once that traffic study is complete, or?
Might change.
Well, so there's really only one there's really only one access point for them, and it's how we deal with that. Right now, at least from the highway perspective, there's a dedicated left end and there's a right end. So, you know, from the highway usage perspective, it works.
Yeah.
My concern, our concerns are, you know, are you gonna be stacking, you know, you're looking at a couple apartments, hotel, are you gonna start stacking cars there? Are people then gonna make bad decisions like we see on Highway 8? You know, they've been waiting there for a minute and a half, and there's a gap, I gotta go. So depending on what we see out of this plan, we'll actually be incorporating what happens with that development.
And will you also be looking at what's going on in Summer Fields? Because you can imagine more cars will be coming up Kettle River to turn onto Viking to get to the highway.
Correct.
Or freeway, I think you call it here.
So part of this corridor study
Yeah.
is really the corridor. And of course, the interchange, any interchange work we can do along with that too. So knowing that there's traffic coming up Kettle River, traffic coming down Kettle River, and now, whatever city street that'll be from the apartments, and then keep going up towards Viking Lane, there'll be an intersection there and another one. There's going to be a lot more traffic, and we just can't point to Anoka County and say, yeah, careful.
Right.
We're going to be putting traffic on that road. So, to your point, yes, we're looking at how can we get people from the south onto 22 and where they want to go.
Would roundabouts be considered?
Yep, I can tell you that. So we have a number of options now. We're trying to pare them down. We still have to meet now with Mark and Rob and MnDOT. Those are our next steps here. Again, I think they had almost a dozen different options, and some of them were no, yep, good thought there, but, and some of them were like, yep, we can still keep that in play. So, you know, again, it's one thing to fund the project, but it's another to know what we're even doing. So to that end, if we can keep funneling these down to at least one option that MnDOT can live with, the city can live with, and the county can live with, then that's what we'll move forward with.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for coming
Thank
in
you.
today for the update. We appreciate it. Thank you. All right, on to approval of minutes, which is number 2. Consider approving the minutes of the regular meeting of the Wyoming, Minnesota City Council for March 1st, 2022. There are no questions or comments. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion to approve by member Luger. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by member Onstad. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 3 on the agenda, to consider resolution 22-03-22, a resolution to vacate a portion of public right-of-way property located within the Diamond Ridge plat.
I'll be taking that.
Mr. Sachs,
Yes.
all right.
Yep, thank you, Madam Mayor, council members. At the February 15th meeting, City Council passed a resolution setting a public hearing for the proposed vacation within the Diamond Ridge final plat. This vacation is needed because the final plat will consist of 3 lots with a cul-de-sac. This was properly noticed and sent to the abutting property owners. Staff have reviewed the vacation application submitted by Beckman Custom Homes, and we are recommending the approval of the vacation of the public street, drainage, and utility easements. So at this time, staff would recommend opening the public hearing and then following the public hearing, passing Resolution 22-03-22.
Okay, so we need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion by member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are in public hearing. So do we have anyone that would like to come up and talk about the vacation of the property for Diamond Ridge Plat? Okay, not seeing anybody. All right, we need a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion from member Luger. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are now back into regular session. Do we have council? We'll start with council for questions. Member Yeager?
I mean, this is just so they can put in a cul-de-sac rather than a through road.
Correct.
Okay, no, that works for me.
Okay, member Schilling?
No questions.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
Member Luger?
No questions.
And I have none either. We need a motion to approve Resolution 22-03-22, a resolution to vacate portions of a public right-of-way property located within the Diamond Ridge plat. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So passed. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda, number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Does anybody wish to pull an item from the consent agenda? Hearing none, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So approved. Acknowledgement of reports of officer boards, commissions, and department heads. That would be number 10, 11, 12, and 13 on your agenda. Does anybody wish to pull an item?
I wish to pull 13.
All right, we'll pull number 13. Anything else? All right, number 13, report of the Public Works Superintendent, Chuck Almgeld, for March 9th, 2022. Council Member Onstad.
I know that Superintendent Almgeld is not here, but I'd like to address this towards Mr. Linwood. It's concerning the report and the difficulties with snow plowing on this last snowstorm. I think it was on the 3rd.
I believe you are correct, Councilmember Onstead.
And would you like to speak to the problems that we had that day?
Certainly, I think we did, as council's aware, we did receive some comments in regards to that plowing. We did, our Public Works crew did go out at the end of the snow event about 4:30 a.m. With that, they did have one employee on vacation, but the rest of the crew came in and they did start plowing especially heavy snow. We unfortunately had 2 equipment failures and breakdowns of trucks during that event, which elongated that event. I know that we had a few individuals who reached out to the city council about the duration of the plow. Normally, that plow at 5:30, usually it's anywhere from 6 to 8 hours to do the duration of the city, and then being down one member of their team elongated it to mix in the breakdowns. I know that some of the roadways were done late morning and really into the early afternoon. So, and on top of that, like I said, extremely heavy snow. So I know that they did their best to complete that, but that was some of the reason for that not being done in a normally timely manner that we expect. To know our Public Works Department that usually completes that.
And it would be correct to say that the priority is to make sure that we have passable roads rather than absolutely clean roads that are curb to curb?
Correct. I think in this, especially with this snowfall, you know, the heaviness of it, they had some issue in trying to throw that snow out further than they usually do. So you're correct, just to get those streets open to the general public was the main goal of that. And I know they came back later on this week and tried to, last week, to clean up some of that existing and to really make sure things were opened up before we started to have some of our thaw.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
I have a question on top of that. While we're talking snow and snow removal, with the melting, I'm noticing a lot of flooding going on. What is Public Works' plan to alleviate the flooding?
Sure. Our Public Works crew has been out proactively taking care of some of those stormwater drains that are still frozen. What we have is we have some of the drains that are open, but there's still frost and actual piping beneath them. So they have been out due to sometimes this resident, notifying us that they have an issue, but they have been trying to go out and proactively tour the city and look for those, but really just a collaboration of staff, calls we receive here, calls they receive down there, and just try to stay ahead of them. So obviously, you are correct with this thaw. We anticipate that we're going to continue to have them through the week.
Okay, because I know I've been stopped by some residents asking about all the water, wading through the street.
Okay. Yeah, I know that they've had quite a few, and I know they've been chasing a lot of them down, but they'll continue to try to work through them, and absolutely. And please encourage those residents, in case they didn't see it, to give us a call just so we can make sure they are aware of it and get out there as soon as they can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's a lot quicker just to come call directly to City Hall.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, oftentimes we do know, but sometimes we
Yeah.
don't, and it's great to, when we get those notifications, it's easy to, to let our Public Works crew know, and they'll get after it as soon as they can, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to new business, number 14 on our agenda. Kraus Anderson Construction Management Services presentation for the City of Wyoming Public Safety Building Project. Mr. Linwood, are you starting us off
I
on
will
this?
start. Mayor, members of the council, at the March 1st, 2022 council meeting, the city council elected to select Kraus Anderson as the construction manager for our public safety building project. Council directed staff to have Kraus Anderson come in and just give a brief presentation about themselves and allow for some question and answer about the project and the process. So as directed, we have invited Kraus Anderson, members of the team and staff that will be working on this project. They're present here tonight. And with that, they are going to come up and we'll put a brief presentation on the board and allow council to ask some questions. So I'll let you all introduce yourself and I'll have your presentation ready to go.
Awesome, thank you. I've got a couple handouts here Dan's gonna share with you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
Couple extras.
That's fine. Thank you.
Well, maybe I'll just start off. Thank you for the opportunity. We've been hearing about this project for some time. We've been looking forward for the opportunity to engage with you folks. And I guess we're very thankful that we're here and we're excited about this opportunity. I'm very much looking forward to working with you and your team. So with that, oh yeah, can we jump to the next slide?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. So my name is Jason Rettmeister. I'm a senior project manager with Kraus Anderson Construction. I've been with Kraus for 15 years in the public market sector. Before that, actually I grew up down in La Crosse, Wisconsin, out in the country. Went to Stout for my project management, construction management degree. And I've been with Kraus Anderson ever since. Maybe a little bit more background. I did spend a little bit of time in the military, 9 years. Earned me a couple deployments to Iraq. And I think as we get into passion about this industry, for me, that kind of leads into my passion about it. Is I joined the military, out of a sense of duty and passion for that. And having gotten out, I certainly feel like this is an opportunity to carry forward that duty and passion. So I appreciate everybody in the public safety realm very much. And so I look forward to the opportunity to get back on that. As a senior project manager, what am I going to be doing for you? My role starts off pretty heavy in the pre-construction portion of the project, working through budgets, schedules, pulling together our team. Mark's going to talk a little bit more about some of our resources, interfacing with Wold architects and engineers, and just making sure that we're pulling together a good project for you guys. And a project is made in pre-construction is our mindset. So trying to get that off and onto the street and underway in good fashion.
Hi, I'm Dan Kelberg. I'll be the project manager. I grew up in Forest Lake, 06 grad. I used to play hockey at Swenson's Park down the road. I really am looking forward to this project with public safety. Like Jason, it's a passion of mine. I'll be day-to-day operations, first line of communication, along with Steve. Again, starting with the beginning with Jason, all the way through the end of the project. I, along with Steve, have first line of communication.
First of all, thanks for letting us come and speak with you guys tonight and inviting us here. It's a pleasure working this close to home, and it's great now, we're driving an hour and a half each way. But the other thing is it's nice to be in our own community. My name is Steve Sontag. I grew up in Forest Lake, just east of town on a little farm. I graduated from Forest Lake. After school, I went to Schaefer, Minnesota, where we live on a dairy farm, my wife and I and 4 kids. We've been involved in the community with the 4-H, shooting sports, 4-H county fairs, and we're still involved in the shooting sports with the 4-H. As you know, with COVID, everything has been kind of shut down and you can't do much. In a personal note, I've been in the construction industry since 1980. I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy being here, working, watching buildings get built. especially now, I've worked in multiple, public safety buildings, fire stations, police stations, city halls, and it's great to be able to work with our community and be able to, see something here be built that everybody enjoys, that everybody worked hard to get the money for it to be built. With that being said, this is Mark.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Cotton. I lead the public market sector for Kraus Anderson Construction. I have 26 years with KA and 31 in the industry, and all my work has been on the public side of the market. So I just want to say congratulations for bringing this project to where it's at right now. And thank you for giving us the opportunity to be part of your team. The public market sector typically for Kraus Anderson does about $40 to $60 million a year in revenue. And ultimately, a $13 million project is a big project for us. So we are excited to be part of the team. We work with you too. One person up here is Dustin Phillips. He's not here tonight. He had a family conflict, but he's going to be part of the pre-construction too, portion of this project. On the right-hand side, we have kind of our in-house resources. So we have our estimating, which actually Dustin, Jason, and Dan are going to be working on the pre-construction side with our estimating group. Dan will lead that project process. Internally, we have a building science, or quality control, which we have a structural engineer on site, which helps go through drawings. And ultimately, as Wolf develops drawings, we'll look at the exterior shell of the building, the roof, the structure on that, which, and we give notes on anything that need to change or not. MEP coordinator. We have a mechanical engineer on staff too, within our office to help through the process of, as Wolf goes through the design to make sure that they're meeting their needs on your MEP systems. BIM in our company too, we have, they do some clash detection, but we use them a lot for our communications on different things, and we'll get into that a little bit later also. And safety is a huge part of our project too. Our EMR is 0.47, and we're very proud to have that. So with that being said, Jason, a little bit about that.
Jump to the next slide. Catered approach to your project. I think that what we're really trying to say is that we're gonna meet you where you need to be met. We're gonna communicate with you the way you wanna be communicated with. You know, and as these 3 bullet points, you know, list here, you know, our goal is to be your advocate. At the end of the day, you know, we hope that you see us as part of your staff, and that when this project is done and, you know, we're down the road and you guys are moving in, that hopefully, you'll feel like there's maybe a gap there. If that's the case, then we've done our job right. On the advocacy side, you know, it's our job to look out for your best interests. So we'll be doing that through pre-construction, making sure that you're getting good value. It's hitting the market right, and that we're getting the best subcontractors that we can get. Our job is to communicate with you, and that is in the forms that you need to be communicated with. We've got a number of tools, but sometimes just the simplest ones, you know, picking up the phone is the way to do it. You know, proactively solving problems kind of ties into solution driven. And as you'll see in this next slide here, we've got a number of projects that fit this bill. This project is very much in our wheelhouse, and we're looking forward to bringing our experience in this project type to benefit the city. On the solution driven, really kind of talked about the experience, but from there we want to leverage our relationships in the subcontracting community. We've worked with probably all of the subcontractors in this area, and we know that they'll be looking forward to working with us and working with you on this project, and are looking forward to bring that to bear. For what it's worth, you know, we maintain a lot of good relationships in the subcontracting community, and so as we encounter challenges throughout the project, we'll be working with those partners on those relationships to bring you the best solutions possible. And then from there, I'm just passionate about public safety projects. Talk about that a little bit. Jump to the next slide. You know, this is very much in our wheelhouse. We've completed 27 police stations, 36 fire stations. A number of the photos here are ones that are recently completed, and we've got a number that are ongoing currently. I guess with that, just very much excited about it. Oh, and then last thing I want to point out is that we've done, I don't even know how many hundreds of projects with Wold. I actually have just recently completed a number of projects with this specific Wold team, so. You jump, perfect. So I'm gonna start this one off here, I guess, on communication. In the pre-construction side, we're gonna wanna meet up, and do a kickoff meeting right off the bat. We wanna understand what your goals are, and understand what maybe a successful project looks like for you. And so maybe I'll just pause here for a second. And is there any, like, one or two things that would define a successful project for you?
I'll start by saying if we come under your budget
Absolutely.
by several million. So that would be a good thing, right? Then
Absolutely.
I'll recommend you to everybody. So, let's go, Member Yeager, do you have anything? Member Schilling?
I don't have any questions at this
Member
point.
Onstead?
No questions.
Member Luker?
None.
All right, I was the only one,
Well,
under
right.
budget.
I guess, anyway, in pre-con, we wanna set, we wanna understand what your goals, budget and schedule, obviously, very much foremost. From there, on the budget, it's, maybe to us, it's a little bit more nuanced, but we wanna make sure that we've got all the nickels and dimes accounted for. We've got just a giant list of things that we'll wanna be tracking with Wold, making sure that that your project is a whole project and that there aren't any parts and pieces that are missing, so we'll be looking for that. On the schedule front, we'll be looking to coordinate with the trades and then pull together a good project that's efficient and cost beneficial to you. Wanna jump into construction?
So for construction, our biggest, like Jason says, is catering to your needs. It's the OAC meetings, which is really the owner, architect, contractor, and construction manager. I set these up to do weekly. Oftentimes it goes to bi-weekly or bi-monthly. But really it's to make sure everyone has the information that is needed. One big thing that I work on, and this is a current project that I'm on right now with the city of Crystal, is this QR code that's on the screen or in your handout. I know that this is a high losing the word, but high visible project to the city. I know where it is, I bowl right down the street every Thursday night. Everyone's gonna be seeing this project and they're gonna wanna know what's going on. And this QR code actually goes on, what we do is put these on the website. And all the community, they can just look at the website and see what's going on. I do these monthly, but again, this is catering to what you guys need and what you feel is relevant for the community.
If you get a chance, just open it up sometime
Yeah.
after the meeting.
Yeah, you actually take your camera on your smartphone and scan it, so.
Great.
And through this, I work with Steve daily. We're in constant communication throughout this entire project, through construction, through closeout. I know Steve runs a couple on-site meetings that basically is all about communication. So if you wanna-
Yeah, basically, you know, at first on construction, Jason and Dan are the biggest part of this thing anymore, with the pre-construction part of it. I help out a little bit here and there, give my input on scheduling, material stuff. With that, the biggest issues that I look at, I communicate with the trades every day. We have our little huddle talks, figure out what we're gonna do, if we have issues, problems, concerns. We try to solve them as best we can with Wold, the engineers, with the city, whatever we have to do to make it so we don't slow down. And that, Dan comes out once a week for a meeting, maybe twice a week, but we talk every day on the phone, one way or the other, we're talking. Jason gets involved once or twice every other week, comes out. Basically, he'll probably be on the site once a month, for sure, for a meeting or whatnot. On a day-to-day basis, you know, I go through the scheduling with the people, we work through, material issues, deliveries. Safety is one of the biggest issues for you guys, especially in the area we're at, with Highway 61 and 273, man, that's gonna be tough with all the people coming in and out of there. And we really worry about the safety for not only our guys, but the public, the community, coming in and out of the roads. I mean, we put a fence around our site, we do a bunch of things that we have to do to keep all of us safe, because we all wanna go home and nobody wants to get hurt. With that, we coordinate with the building officials a lot and whoever you pick for Ron. So with that, that's what I have.
Yeah, we can jump to the next one. Oh, there you go. All right, pre-construction, I could talk about this for days, but I'm gonna limit it to about like a couple quick bullet points here. First, kind of on the top side of the graphic there, I guess, we wanted to point out is that when we jump in and are doing our estimates, we're leveraging a program that we have called Monologics. What that is it's us grabbing all of the cost history that we have from all of our previous projects. We dump that into a software and we're able to time and date, locate that, you know, to any specific time or date, right? So we can go grab fire stations that we've done previously and say, okay, what would that fire station cost in Wyoming? And so, not that you're supposed to be able to read that, but there's a lot of numbers up there. We're leveraging that tool to be able to give you good information about budgets and estimates. On the bottom there, budget. Next, very important first step for us is establishing that budget, understanding what your revenue sources are, and then what the costs are going out, making sure we kind of got capturing that full picture. And then kind of what we're trying to show here on the side is we'll actually track that over time so that we can see, you know, if things change or evolve. You know, maybe the building grows or shrinks or time elapses or something, right? So we can kind of explain how that budget has evolved. From there, we'll be working on a schedule, wanting to make sure, like we talked about, that we're getting a good schedule that's market-based and based on contractor strengths. And then from there, with all that information, we'll be working on bidding. So what that means for us is that we're gonna take this package, we're gonna pull it into a number of work scopes. That's what we call them, those are the packages the contractors will bid. We'll put those together for your project, anywhere from 35, probably plus or minus 35 of them. And we'll tailor those to the strengths of the contractors in your community. So we'll be reaching out to find out who's in the area, what their strengths are, and we'll try to build those out so that it's fair and competitive, you know, for everybody, but is tailored to people's strengths. Did I miss anything on bidding?
I think the biggest thing is that no surprises. Sometimes those cost money, and our goal is to make sure that there aren't any surprises as we go along through the process, through each design phase.
Steve, you wanna talk about the site just a little bit?
All right, this logistic plan that you're looking at here, if you look at the red, that's a privacy fence to go around the whole site to keep us safe and the public out at night during the day, since it's a wall and tight place. There's a path you see along 61 that we have to really watch out and keep open for the public and make sure no one's gonna get hurt, because I know that path is used every day. We've got the roads, people coming in and out to keep the roads clean. This site's not a sandy site, I'm sure, the way things are around here, we've got a lot of clay. And we're gonna have to make sure that this road is cleaned on a daily basis, whether we do it or we may have help with the city, or however that works out, to keep some of your costs down. The other thing is storage on these sites and the wetlands. We'll have to make sure everything around these sites are kept up, so we're not draining water, dirt, mud out of the street, out where ponds and water areas that we don't have. With that, we got staging areas and parking for people. Yes, we gotta stay off the highway, the road, make sure we're out everybody's way, and we'll have to just work with utility companies to make sure, because I'm sure there's all kinds of utilities that we know, we've heard from somebody here in the city that there's quite a few utilities on the project that we'll have to work through and try to make sure we don't wreck on our curb. And looking out for everybody's interest up there. With that,
We'll slide to the next one. Awesome. Dan and I are gonna tackle this one here. I think I'm just gonna start off, kind of get scheduled a few times. Whatever it's worth, we've already started conversations with Lowell. We snapped up their schedule to kind of get a handle on what they're thinking versus what we're thinking. And then actually last week we were able to attend our first coordination with Lowell to kind of understand where things are at. So we're certainly jumping in with both feet at this point. I think maybe if I were to point anything out on this schedule, you know, for us, it's gonna be, you know, market conditions are gonna be a driver for things. Certainly seeing increased lead times for different products that go into these buildings, which sounds like you're aware.
I'm dealing with it right now, yeah, so.
And so we'll be trying to, you know, communicate with Lowell and make sure that we're going into it with that in mind. You know, maybe you wanna talk a little bit how we come through a schedule?
I know, so a big thing is, and it goes with the the subcontractors or contractors is the buy-in. We make sure that we make the phone calls, to get people interested in bidding it, but it's also making sure that they, have some input on how these schedules are built. It doesn't help if you make an unrealistic schedule. That's a big part of building these schedules, and, again, understanding lead times. That's the scariest thing these days. It's so unpredictable that we just gotta make sure, and that's part of our job.
Yeah, and that's where we lean on relationships with those contractors to try to build those in. So, just talking with precasters, just on Friday.
Tell me our time's up.
Probably.
No.
Well, perfect, because it's today, I think.
All right, so I'm gonna go around for council to ask the questions. We're gonna start with Member Luger on any questions she might have.
So, okay, I just have two questions. On the one slide, I'm just wondering what happens to, on the slide that has the map of the facility and the, yep. This might be a really silly question, but what happens to the bike path?
Remains open.
Remains open, okay,
Just gotta figure out what that means exactly.
okay. Okay,
Yeah, it looks like we've gotta build something across it.
Okay.
So there'll be a short period of time that we'll have to work through some closures.
sure,
But I think as we figure out what all those grades are and stuff, then we should be able to come up with a plan that, maybe it's closed for a number of days, and then it's open in a temporary type basis until things get all tied together. But
Okay.
that's where we gotta work with the city, and we'll figure that out.
okay, awesome. My second question is more about contractors and subcontractors, and what your selection process is with the trades, and can we expect labor to have a prevailing wage?
Well, prevailing wage, that's a conversation that we'll be having with the city. If that's something that you guys are interested in, and then that's something that we can certainly facilitate.
Are there any funds that are coming? Are there any funds that are coming? Are you going for any bonding, or are there any different funds that you're getting besides?
As of right now, no.
Oh, okay.
As of right now. Rob, did you want?
It'll be, bonding right now, but we do have some, looking for some dollars in the legislature right now that we have both of our local rep and senator that are, we put in for those for cost of that building, so.
Okay, so there's stipulations that potentially come out of that you have to follow through that, so if you do receive those, there's some things that we have to follow.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you, that's all I have.
All right, and then we're gonna go over to Member Yeager.
No questions.
All right, and Member Onstad,
No questions.
Member Schilling.
I'm just excited to have you guys here. In my tenure as a CBO, I know you guys very well. I also am a facilities manager for the city of West St. Paul as well, so I'm very familiar with 3 of these projects on here because I did reach out to them as well prior to this all getting started. Nothing but good things, and I do know that our fire chief in West St. Paul would love a duplicate of the Burnsville one in West St. Paul as well, so you guys did a great job down there, so, and I know everything went really well, so I appreciate having you here, so.
Thank you.
All right, I have many questions. So my first question is this: did you happen to watch the council meeting 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
Good, okay. So you did a very good with your presentation to answer some of those questions that I brought forward, but I'm gonna continue with that. First of all, Forest Lake grad, so I'm sure that I might know Mr. Sumter. He might know.
Is that a good or bad? Is that good or bad?
I'm not saying, it's all good. No, it's,
You know my brother a lot better.
I
than you
do,
and him
yes.
graduated
Yep,
together.
yep, exactly. So, so I am very happy to see that we have, people on the project that actually know the city of Forest Lake and love the city of Wyoming as much as we do. So that was a big deal for me. If you watched the council meeting 2 weeks ago, that was a very big deal for me, right? To have that trust. So, with that, here are my questions. I'm gonna start easy and then I'm gonna go from there. So when it comes to, the bike path, to Member Luger's question, we have a lot of events during the summer. So we're not sure when this is gonna start, but a lot of events. So, I really wanna make sure that you're in contact with city staff regarding those events, and hopefully city staff will give that to you well in advance. So, super important on that. If I can read my writing, Split Rocks, again, when you're talking about utilities and outages, and you're talking about, if it's during the summertime and all the kids that come, for the arcade and the bowling and that sort of thing, right? I really wanna make sure, cause they're gonna be affected quite a bit, with your traffic and that sort of thing. So wanna make sure, again, with city staff, that we're in contact with Split Rocks on a regular basis on how that's gonna affect them. Okay, so, questions. Had a lot of conversations with various people that have used you as your service in building things. And so, one of the concerns that I do have is, as you saw 2 weeks ago, you are very large. You're a very large company, right? And I wanna make sure, and if you can address this, that if anybody from City Hall, I don't care if it's Fred, if it's Rob, if it's, whoever, that when they have a question, that you're able to talk to them in a timely manner, not in a week or 2 months or whatever. My hope would be an hour, but that's just me. So, that's my biggest concern with having such a large company, right? Being a part of it. I have heard that, depending on the project manager that you have, really depends on how fast that they get back to the city. So I'm hoping, you guys look like a great team, so I'm hoping that we have the good team that gets back right away. Is that the case?
Absolutely. In the
Okay.
public market sector for Kraus Anderson, we have, project manager wise, we have 8 people.
Okay, great.
So this is, we're a portion of the big wheel that Kraus Anderson is, but ultimately, these are the people that you're gonna be dealing with.
Perfect.
So-
And I'm sure we're at the top of that list.
Of course.
Right, okay, that's awesome.
For whatever it's worth, we did include all of our.
I saw that,
personal contact
yeah.
information.
Yeah.
You can scan those and.
I was gonna do that, but it would have been rude in council.
That's all right.
So,
Cell numbers are the best. way to
right,
get it.
okay, good deal. And then, I've also heard a lot about change orders, right? And there can be a lot of issues with change orders, and that can really add up. So my hope is, you can address how you do change orders, or you can address it with staff as well. But that is a concern of mine, right? That we're not nickeled and dimed on that kind of stuff, because I've heard it both ways. And again, it depends on the person leading the project. So, and again, I feel confident in who we have in front of us, that you're gonna take care of us with that, but it is a concern. My other thing is this, when we talk about bidding, historically, we get 3 bids, right? A city gets 3 bids, RFP, 3 bids, and you kind of look at it and you kind of decide there what's the best, right? So my concern is, what if Wald will say, we want marble, which you wouldn't put in public safety, but as an example, we want marble here, but we're more laminate over here. How are you going to adjust to that? Because in all honesty, I really do hope we come under that budget, right, than what we're setting. So how does that look when you're sending out what Wald has put down, and if there might be a less expensive option?
I think it'd be our goal to catch that early on. We'll be doing, actually, we've done an estimate on your project already.
And it's not over budget, right?
Nope, it's not.
Okay.
And so we kind of got a rough idea of where things are at, and I would say that right now, when we looked at it, early on, it falls into what you would expect category,
Okay.
right? Nothing too cheap and nothing too fancy, kind of right where you would want it. But that's our role as we're jumping into these coordination meetings, is to say, okay, hey guys, here's another project, and maybe it was by Wold, or maybe it was by a different architect, but this seemed to work over here, let's see if we can incorporate that. Or, hey, we've done this, maybe we haven't used marble or laminate, but maybe like this Corian or a solid
Yeah.
surface might be a good in-between, right, to use your analogy. So yes, we do that.
Okay, perfect.
That's our job.
Okay, good, I love to hear that. So, with that, I am, very excited that you're our team, and that we're gonna be working together, and I know we're gonna have a great project, and again, very happy that it's people that know Wyoming, which is extremely important. So, thank you very much. Any other questions? No? Okay, staff good? Yes, Mr. Lindman, you're good? Okay, sounds good, all right. Thank you very much, really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. going to go to number 15 on our agenda to consider resolution 22-03-25, a resolution approving final plat D-22-002, Diamond Ridge Second Edition located at 261st Street and Emerald Avenue by Beckman Construction Homes LLC. Charles Beckman, property ID number 21.00040.01, 21.00040.06. Mr. Weck, are you starting?
Yes, Madam Mayor. And Madam Mayor and council members, the Diamond Ridge development was started back about 2005, and it was unviable with the 6 lots that were originally proposed with the through lot that we just vacated tonight. Mr. Beckman and Beckman Custom Homes are requesting final plat approval of the now 3-lot subdivision with it ending in a cul-de-sac. Planning Commission and staff are recommending approval of the final plat with 7 conditions listed in the staff report and in the resolution. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Member Schilling?
I actually have no questions on this, Mayor.
Perfect. All right, Member Onstad?
No questions.
Thank you. Member Yeager?
Will we, when the utilities go in, will the road be torn up, obviously, but is it the road that we just fixed?
I think Mr. Harrison.
There is a segment of sanitary sewer that does need to go back to connect to the existing structure there, and the developer will be responsible to remove and replace. The curb and gutter will remain in place, but there will be a portion of the asphalt that does need to be removed. It will be from curb to curb, so it won't appear as a patch. It'll be a brand-new roadway, just like we had put in recently.
Okay, and the
That is a
developer
developer
will
cost.
take care of all that, and nobody's got to,
That is correct.
okay, that's all I had.
All right, Member Lugar?
No questions.
Yeah, but I do have one
Okay.
question.
Go ahead,
Now
Member
that
Onstad.
You said that, will that construction on the road, how far back will it be, and will it affect either of the 2 neighbors that are in that area?
I believe it will. I don't recall the distance. It's maybe over 100 feet, I would say, if I had to guess. But it will extend past the driveway, so there will be some coordination with the property owners immediately adjacent to make sure that they know when that will be taking place, and there may be a period of time during one day, right, where they're right immediately in front of their driveway with that sanitary sewer construction. The water main is extended far enough, but the sanitary sewer was not. But they will be notified well in advance, and staff will be involved in the inspection of that project, and so there will be lead time and coordination that will be involved with adjacent property owners.
You say it takes about a day, or it'll be a couple?
The sanitary sewer will probably be a day. It won't be back to blacktop that very same day, but it will be something that will need to be taken care of prior to the completion of the overall project.
Yeah, the least amount of disruption to those people.
Correct.
Probably the best.
Yep.
And I have no questions, so we need a motion to approve resolution.
Madam Mayor, it looks like somebody has a question.
Sure, yep, couple minutes. Yep, come on up and state your name, please. And we'll give you a couple minutes.
Name is Holly Lance, and my property is adjacent to this new Diamond Bridge. I have a concern, you mentioned like the street and the sewer. My concern is noise, cutting the trees, like, are they gonna be on our property? Will there be any damage to our property? Are they doing any construction to our property? Or close to the roadway besides the sanitary sewer? Are there gonna be like vehicles parked in the streets?
So I can, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Yes, so there will certainly be noise associated with the construction of the project. They will not be able to access your property without permission, so they won't be doing any construction on your property. There will be, of course, construction activities adjacent. We'll make sure that they, and there will be parking of vehicles for contractors within the area as well. We'll certainly work to find locations for them. Staff will work together to make sure that we understand what their plan is and where they plan to park. They certainly, there's not a lot of room there, right? They're gonna be adding a cul-de-sac, and they can't park in the cul-de-sac while they're constructing the cul-de-sac. And so there will be some equipment there. We'll ask that the public right-of-way be free of construction equipment on that existing portion, so they will need to store that on site. but their construction workers will likely be parking alongside one of the existing roadways in that area.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, just trying to prepare.
Okay, and you can call staff at any time as well.
Right, we'd be
with
happy
any
to answer any questions anytime. There are working hours that the contractor is allowed to work, and that's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, and 8 to 5 on Saturdays.
Okay. So, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we need a motion to approve resolution 22-03-25, a resolution approving final plat for Diamond Ridge Second Edition. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by member Schilling. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Luker. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 16, to consider resolution 22-03-26, a resolution approving a final plat D-22001, Sunrise River Bank located at East Viking Boulevard, Greenwood Golf Course, site by Northern Tier Development, LLC, Richard Morris, property ID number 21.00009.30, 21.00012.00, 21.10298.30, 21.10298.40, 21.10302.00, 21.10320.10, 21.10320.20, and 21.10320.30. I believe this is the longest amount of numbers I have read in 6 years. So, happy to do it for you guys, so. All right, so, Mr. Wack, are you starting on this?
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, Madam Mayor and council members. The Sunrise Riverbank final plat consists of 3 lots. Lot 1, Block 1 will become a wetland bank. The Lot 2, Block 1 currently has a house on it that will be demolished and for a future development on that property, and then Lot A, which will also be future developed. We're going to look at those sketch plans and the EAW and the next agenda items, so I'm not going to go into those. But the Planning Commission, Planning Commission staff are recommending approval of the final plat of the 3 lots with the conditions listed in the staff report and on the resolution.
And just to be clear, we are only approving this right here is on that final plot. It's not the sketch plan or anything that's later. So I'll ask for questions from council, just to remember that it is specifically on this. Member Yeager, any questions?
So this final plat just divides that entire parcel into 3 lots.
Yes, ma'am.
And then when Lot 2 and Outlot A are developed, you will come back before us to repeat the process for subdivision and development.
Yes, ma'am. They'll be doing the preliminary plat and final plat for each of those lots as they develop those.
Now, I also believe the city owns a small parcel in that vicinity where the water tower was going to be.
Yes.
Does this what effect will this subdivision have on that parcel?
None.
Okay.
Other than, I think, maybe where the water line may be coming from that way, Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, I think it will not have an impact. Where it might have an impact, where we have a future discussion, is if we ask the applicant to realign Kettle River Boulevard through their site. It might make sense that we go through that parcel to make that curve a little bit easier. It might go through that tax forfeit parcel that we received a number of years ago. That might be one implication. I don't believe the water main would need to go through that site, though.
Okay, and if the street went through that tax parcel, does the city, the state object? Do we have to give it back, pay taxes on it, do anything with it? It's still considered a public use?
Before you asked that question, I wrote down that very question to have a conversation with with our attorney here to go through that. So I'm not sure if you're prepared to answer that right now, either of you. I know we've had some preliminary discussions on that in the years past.
We have, and excuse me, When acquired those lands through tax forfeiture, there are stipulations that are put through those that they have to be used for public use, and that can be for facilities, parks, et cetera. In regards to potential street or roadway through them, I'll need to confirm that is an allowable use. I don't know if our city attorney has any input on that at all.
Yeah, I would have to review the deeds as well as then when it was acquired, but it's a potential, and obviously we wouldn't go forward with that plan if it wasn't something that we could do, but there are ways in which we can do it, just whether or not it would work for that particular parcel, we would have to specifically review that.
Oh, okay, so it's still up in the air still. Okay, thank you.
Member Schilling?
I have no questions at this time, Mayor.
Member Onstad?
No questions.
Member Luger?
No questions.
All right, and I have none either. We need a motion to approve Resolution 22-03-26, a resolution approving final plat for Sunrise River Bank located at East Viking Boulevard, Greenwood Golf Course. I will make that first motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 17, to consider Resolution 22-03-27, a resolution declaring a negative declaration of need for an environmental impact statement, EIS, for Sunrise Riverbank Development. And I'm not sure if this is Mr. Erickson or Mr. Weck,
I believe
or
it's.
Mr. Linwood, or Mr. Sachs.
Mr. Erickson, I believe.
This, which item?
This is for the negative declaration
Oh,
of
we
the
jumped on
EIS.
The
Okay.
EIS.
Did we miss an item?
No, we just did that one.
Okay,
Now we're here.
all right.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have completed the EAW, as you're aware. We have gone through and published that. After the completion of that, we have received a number of comments from various agencies. Those comments are included in the council packet. Ultimately, what we have found with this is that there is a negative need for an EAS with the Sunrise Riverbank development. So a lot of information here. If you'd like to go through it in more detail, I'd be happy to. We're going to cover a lot of that with the next couple of items with regards to some of the utilities and some of the impacts. But really, the upshot of the overall EAW was it did have a number of findings related to utilities and infrastructure. There are some concerns related to traffic, and we've touched on those a little bit with the county engineer earlier this evening. We have a lot of those findings that we'll implement into the final comments related to any future preliminary plats that come forward. But again, the upshot of all of that is that there is no need for further environmental review beyond what we've done with the EAW.
All right, questions? We'll start with Member Luger,
No questions.
Member Onstad,
No questions.
Member Schilling,
No questions.
Member Yeager.
No questions.
All right, I will make the motion to approve Resolution 22-03-27, a resolution declaring a negative declaration of need for an environmental impact statement for Sunrise Riverbank development. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 18 on our agenda, to review sketch plan D-22-004, Sunrise Riverbank commercial lots located at East Viking Boulevard, Greenwood Golf Course site by Northern Tier Development LLC, Richard Morris property ID number 21.00012.00. And I'm not sure who's taking this one.
I can start, Madam Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Beck.
With the first one, the commercial lots located, they're proposing 2 apartment buildings, 85 units each, in a motel or a hotel. There's no action required of the city council on either this or the next agenda item. It's more informational, and so you can see what the plans are, provide any comments you might have or questions you have for staff or the developer who is here. There will be a park dedication for these lots as well as the future residential lots. These based on commercial use, it's just a basic, I think it was 5%, I forgot to read it just before. The Joint Park Planning Board will be meeting on the 22nd, so I think next Tuesday, to discuss park dedication requirements for both this subdivision and the other future residential subdivision. City engineers provide comments based on where the roadway is and the sewer and water infrastructure, and I think Mr. Erickson can probably answer any questions on that.
Okay, let's start with Member Yeager.
Okay, if Outlot A is commercial, why does it have two residential, great big residential apartment buildings?
Apartment buildings are considered, it'll be essentially be rezoned to mixed use, which has both a mixture of residential and commercial uses. But the apartment buildings aren't residential, they're still commercial, they're a commercial building.
Okay. And then, how many floors are these apartment buildings going to have?
I'm not sure, but I believe probably 3.
Okay. And will the first floor be commercial like we see going up in Forest Lake?
I do not believe so. I think they're strictly apartments.
Okay. And, well, you know, I've been hearing and seeing a lot of critical comments from Forest Lake about all the apartments they have. I mean, they're complaining it's too many apartments, undesirables coming up from the cities. Could that happen with this, or the possibility of that happening with this type of development?
I don't know, I guess, what would make that happen in this type of development. I guess maybe you would be able to shed some light on why there would be undesirables in that statement. I'm not sure.
That was just what I read. Somebody was in, they were talking about Forest Lakes downtown, and they were talking about the apartments, and that was just a comment one of the residents had made.
Yeah.
So I was just running it by to see if there was, if we would anticipate those types of problems up here, or would we run into the same situation?
I guess I'm not familiar with those potential problems down there, so I guess I wouldn't be able to comment on that. I can say that we have had a housing study completed recently in the last 3 years from Chisago County, and that there is a significant need for multifamily unit housing in the city of Wyoming. So I guess I would look at that as saying that this is a need in our community right now for that multifamily housing, and especially for more workforce housing, as we have a significant manufacturer base in the city.
All right, so if we put these apartment buildings in a hotel and it's this big development in general, what would be the impact on our staff? Will we need to add more police officers? Will we need to add more staff at City Hall to service this development?
I can't really impact on numbers. I think we're at a sketch level right now on this. I think in regards to any kind of service levels, you know, there's roads that are added with our developments for public works, so that's a constant. You know, with multi-development with any residential, there's always going to be need for EMS, fire services, police services. In regards to the growth of a city, that's always a potential impact that staff is needed if you want to provide services to your city. But at this point in time, I don't think anyone on our staff has really been able to quantify exactly what kind of impact this would have.
Okay. And, I mean, the third lot is designated as a hotel. What if there's no hotel that wants to come up here? It falls through. What else could be done with the lot?
It's way too soon.
It's a mixed use, designated as mixed use, so I think that would really be up to the developer if they wanted to have another type of, you know, multifamily residential component, if they would look for more of a commercial, office, retail. There really is an abundance of uses allowed in that designation.
Okay. That's all I had, thank you.
Any uses will require a conditional use permit, so they're not gonna be able to just move in there without council approval.
Okay.
All right, Member Ronstadt.
The last apartment building, I think, was slated to go into the Bingham property. Fell through because of lack of subsidies for that property. Is this property, do they anticipate having to get subsidies? Or is this a developer that is planning on going through with it?
In regards to the Bingham property, that was a tax credit project through the state of Minnesota that we applied for in coordination with the developer. We were not selected as part of that tax credit project. We have not, the developer has not indicated in regards to any kind of tax credit project on these apartments at this point in time through the sketch process. So I know that they've done similar projects in other communities, and I think tonight maybe they could share some of those similarities. I know they've been very open and to talk about what some of those other projects they've done. So I don't believe so. They haven't indicated any of that, but I don't want to speak for the applicant.
We'll get through the questions, then I'll ask if you guys want to come up and speak, so. All right, Member Luker,
No questions.
Member Schilling?
No questions at this time.
All right. I don't have any questions. The sketch plan, I think, is great for what we're looking for in Wyoming. On desirables, I don't know how you build a project and say undesirables. So very much love the fact that we have this development coming in and that you're considering Wyoming to be a part of a project. So very excited about that. It's gonna be a great asset to our community, 30% of manufacturing, and we're growing in that manufacturing, and be able to have the workforce housing to come in and enjoy what you're bringing to, and I'll let you talk about that when you come up in a minute. Can you Google what they've done in Hudson?
Sure.
While we're talking here. So, so I think it's really gonna be a great thing. So really appreciate that you're coming to us. Sketch plan, a lot of great things on here. I'm all for it. The apartment building's great. I am really hoping for a hotel. Obviously, that's something that I know that many of our businesses would really enjoy, and we'll get a lot of use out. So really appreciate that. So with that, if any of you would like to come up and just talk about your project and what you have planned, and just state your name and.
Good evening. My name is Richard Morris. This is Gerald Green. Jerry is a partner of mine in our venture. We're really happy to have the opportunity to come to Wyoming and try to do a project. We have, I'm a lawyer by trade. But I've also developed several properties around the Twin Cities area. We've just completed a development in Hudson, Wisconsin, and not dissimilar from this project. We did an 85-unit apartment project in Hudson. It was full before we were done with the project, and we're 6 months into the venture. The question was asked about what sort of people will we bring to the city. We hope to bring good, solid people to the city, people who will be a credit to the city. We go through a significant process with our tenants and do all the various checks, and we go through a system called Resman, which does a deed check, and we get references and go through really a substantial check, and there are a lot of residents that don't make it through the system. We also manage and provide strong management to our rental projects, and we keep an eye on things, and really A through Z, a common problem, the pets. We get a DNA sample of each pet who comes into the project, they're registered. If we see an accident, we do the DNA on it and go to the owner, and they are fined and they have to pay for the DNA. 3 strikes, the pet is out of there. So and that's just an example of we manage our project intensely. You're going to hear in the next matter before the council, the subdivision which is adjacent to the 3 properties. We have a significant home builder who has purchased all the lots from us, and that same builder did the same thing down in Hudson, has sold them all, and did that in really a relatively short period of time. But the builder is Creative Homes. They they have done a previous development here in this community. They were recently at the National Home Builders Show, one of two builders who was given an award of excellence, and that's the whole United States. So, this is a first-class home builder, and they know how to do it, and they do it right. Our plan would be to come in and start on subdivision and one 85-unit property. We think we've gone to Maxfield, the same people who did your study, we've updated it, and we wanna walk before we run and get one done before we do the second. With respect to the hotel or the hospitality property, we have several prospects. We've been told by Maxfield that they think we're a little early, but we still have a couple prospects who've done other properties who are interested. So that is outside of what our forte is, doing the hospitality property. We are looking for someone who would come in with us and be a joint venture partner. We would put the land in, and we would let them build the property and manage it and operate it. So, Jerry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to, you had a question on how high is the?
Yeah, it's like if it's gonna make high-rise or garden apartments or,
The drive-in main level parking, we did the same type of project in a building in Lake City, Minnesota. So drive-in main floor parking, and I believe the height restriction would allow 3 stories above, if I'm not mistaken.
okay.
That depicts the size of the building. If you can only go, if you go 4 stories, the building is taller and smaller, but I think here's the main floor parking and 3 stories above that.
Okay.
And as far as the commercial site, the existing road that you saw on the sketch plan going through, we're currently working with Mark and AEC, our engineer, and PG Road is doing all of the survey work and stuff. And right now, we're currently trying to decide with the county, are we bringing Hill River Boulevard through? We don't know yet. That's in discussion. If it is, we'll have to make a few changes to the layout within our site. If we're not, we can make some of the radiuses on the current road that you saw on the sketch, we change a little bit to make it not quite so far, but keep it 30 mile an hour. So those things are all ongoing. We have a meeting with the city, I believe next Monday, face to face, to talk to the county and the city on some updates. Tuesday, we're meeting with the park board to discuss some systems that are park education, how we plan to propose those solutions.
Cool.
A lot of good people, so hopefully we can get things moving and get things done.
How long do you anticipate before it's entirely built out?
Well, if we can get through the process we're doing right now and get our contractors in there early spring, early summer, Creative Home Funds, community meetings, so they would, and we would stage the residential. You know, there's a total of 133 lots. We
Yeah.
would bring the services up through the commercial site, make contact with the residential site. But we would start on the west end of the residential site with construction and leave the, in the middle to the east end of the residential on development. We'll just phase it in the first phase and then the second.
Okay, so this is gonna take a couple of years then?
It would.
Okay.
It is gonna, you know, the project Dick talked about Hudson, that one, sales were 18 months. By the time you started, it was done with 25 single-family homes, 80 townhomes, and an 85 unit, about 18 months. That's
Okay.
totally done. So here, I would think you're gonna be, hopefully, construction mid to late 2022. Yeah, the project's gonna take a few years to really see completion, but we'd like to get the first apartment building in there. And if we find a developer that makes hotels, that would be something that we get done. And that's, you know, something we own a lot of hotels, but
Oh, cool.
we try to find people that specialize in a certain category and let them do what they do.
Yeah.
So
Thank
The
you.
other thing that I would add, there was a question about tax credits, subsidies, tax increment financing. We are coming in with straight conventional financing. We do apply for the environmental credits, but that comes from the federal government. And it's a tax credit if you section 45L, if you build the properties environmentally proper, you get those credits. But short of that, no other public assistance.
Yeah, and also on wetland mitigation, if you guys approve final plat, we're working through the state of Minnesota, the Corps of Engineers, DNR to get that finalized. And once we're done, I think we're estimating about 115 beds, something in that ballpark, which will be a big benefit for the community itself, because the location of Wyoming, you know, there's a lot of wetlands out there, and development from construction, commercial to industrial, sometimes is limited by location where you can put something unless you maybe fill in with like or with wetland. And there's not many, actually, probably we're seeing zero credit, but not many credits right now in District 6. So by having this in the bank, it helps benefit construction and development throughout the entire community, and not the whole District 6, which is the Stillwater watershed, so it's a big area, but it'll help the community.
And it will help the county as well.
It'll help the county.
Yeah, bring more development into Chisago County overall, so, perfect, all right. Were you able to find it? If not.
Council, I apologize, we're having some issues with our secured network, I cannot bring it up, and gentlemen, I don't know if the Massey, I believe, is that what it's called in Hudson? That would be if you, I have it on my screen, but I unfortunately cannot share it,
Yeah.
but that would be one that council could look at, that's I think, a good demonstration of that apartment.
And I mentioned last week, any one of you people that would like to tour, a phone call, and the city has my number, Fred does. I will meet you there anytime anybody would like to see the project, I'll take you through and give you a tour.
Okay. Thank you, can you spell that, so,
MASSEY.
Massey? All right, thank you, appreciate that. All
Madam
right.
Mayor?
Yes.
May I just provide a couple of comments related to
Please.
engineering and infrastructure? One, just compliment the applicant and their team. They've asked an awful lot of questions early on. They're clearly, beyond the concept stage, but they're working on their preliminary plat, and they've asked an awful lot of good questions, and we appreciate looking into those questions in advance rather than getting something that just doesn't meet our expectations right away. And so, compliment to your team on that. I know that I've answered a lot of questions. I have an email in my in-basket. I got back from spring break with my family here today. I have to go through and respond to a few more questions, but there are some challenges to the site. Certainly nothing that can be overcome, but I just want to make sure you're aware of it. One that we're all aware of, we've talked about it many times, is just the traffic, and the applicant alluded to a meeting that we have next Monday with the county, and just to discuss the access to the site, both the commercial and the residential portion, and specifically, the existing Kettle River. We know that there's some issues when we look at the projected traffic volumes from the development. There's some issues there. We want to make sure that, one, that we look at what interim improvements can be made with their access, and we're going to meet with the county, and we know that we can do that. But we also want to make sure that we don't preclude the ultimate fix of this area and this interchange. And so that's why we talked a little bit about potentially realigning Kettle River through their site and getting a little bit more separation from the interchange. So we just want to make sure that what we allow now doesn't preclude us from the ultimate fix, or the most economical and efficient fix for the area. And so I just want to make sure you're aware we're working on that. We're working with the applicant on that. Infrastructure, we certainly can accommodate the development. There's a couple things that we'll work through. We've talked about some of those with the applicant as well, and they're aware of those, both sewer and water, some minor things that we need to do to get access to the site, but just wanted to provide a brief update from that perspective as well.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're on 19, right? Sorry.
I lost track earlier.
Are we?
I
We're on
apologize.
19?
We are on 19.
We're on 19, and we don't need to approve anything. This is just, we're looking at it. Okay, so we're back on track. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Number 20 And thanks for coming in.
We're doing 19.
We're-
just finished 18.
We just
Yeah.
finished
No, we're-
18, now we're on 19. Okay, but we
Like, I just
needed
pulled it up
nothing
there.
on 18.
This is the residential side.
This is it, okay, here we go. Now we're back on track, thank you. To review a sketch plan, so number 19, to review a sketch plan D 22-03 Sunrise Riverbank residential lots located at East Viking Boulevard, Greenwood Golf Course site by Northern Tier Development LLC. Richard Morris, property ID number 21.10302.20, 21.10302.00, 21.10302.30. Mr. Weck?
Mayor and council members, this development will consist of 45 detached single-family homes, 34 duplex units, and 54 row home units, so townhomes. Mr. Morris, when he was speaking earlier, talked about Creative Homes. Creative Homes did the bulk of the homes in the Liberty Pond subdivision. So you know, to give you an idea, over off of Highway 8 and Heath Avenue. Again, they'll be meeting on the 22nd with the Joint Park Planning Board to discuss park dedication. Right now, their sketch plan doesn't show any land dedication, so that'll be part of the discussion. Whether it'll be a land portion or if it'll be all cash dedication or a combination of the two. And that's all I have to add on
Okay.
this one.
Do we have questions?
I have a question.
Okay,
You
Member
talked
Yeager?
about the park dedication. The land that the city owns, could that be used as a park?
It's been looked at for a dog park, but it wouldn't be a part of their development.
Okay.
It'd be our land that we already own, so their dedication based on what they own.
I didn't know if you would consider all cash and then use our property to make a park out of it. So, I mean, that's just a question. Yeah, I'm looking at the row houses. Are these like, as big as what we call in Thornbeck? Like those detached houses?
I think they are, and the applicant I know was good enough at the planning commission that you, those houses that Councilmember Yeager is suggesting, you do have another development, an example of those, I think that you had identified, that the council could look at those, is that correct? Yeah, and I can't remember where that was though, I'm sorry.
That's right next, that's in Hudson.
It is in Hudson as well.
There's 100 lots, that's around the apartment building. So if you go and visit our development there, you will see what Creative Homes did with the lots, 100 lots. These would be similar.
Okay, these would be like what I was used to seeing in cities back east. Houses next to each other, attached, common walls, decks on the roof.
Yes.
Yeah, they're typically on, single-family homes or a single-family home.
Yeah.
They're very, as you know, Creative builds very, very nice. The twin homes are side-by-side twin homes.
Okay.
Zero lot line. The row houses are, some are 4 townhomes, row house townhomes, some are 4, some are 5, some are 6. depending where they
Oh,
sit.
kind of put together and different facades or same facade on them?
They're not mirror image, they're all designed so they look a little bit different.
Okay.
They have separate driveways. If you have a 4-unit row house and have one solid driveway, you know what's gonna happen. This guy's gonna park
Yeah.
right over here. Gonna call him. And so they each have separate driveways.
Okay, cool.
If you do get a chance to even get down to Hudson just to drive through and see, it's laid out beautifully. It really is
Okay.
very-
I can show that our network is back up. I can show the council an example of these in a second. So I think here you can kind of see the similar product type in Hudson, and then and it looks like the name of the development is South Point, but I think these are some examples of those, and you can see some of the layouts on a few of these, the floor plans and the elevations. So that might be a good spot for the council to look and see some more examples.
And does this website have a map?
Yep, right down here at the bottom.
Okay.
You can see.
You went right by it.
And it also had a overview, I think, of the different, of the actual map of the, oh. There it is, the community map, so.
Yeah, this picture you're seeing right here, this is simply around the perimeter, the 1, 2, 3, those are twin homes, and in the middle is row homes.
Okay.
Very similar to what we did here. The perimeter around the northern perimeter overlooking the wetland is all single family, and then you have a separation from single family to twin homes, and then the row homes and segregated by themselves.
Would there be like a homeowners association attached to that to take care of the common areas?
In the townhomes, the row homes, Creative does have a homeowners association.
Okay.
And then for reference too, I know we already previously talked about that, just to have the council, that would be an example, I think, of the other apartment. So.
And that's the map.
Yep.
87 units, 87.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any other questions on that? I was gonna say it speaks volumes that Creative Homes, award-winning Creative Homes, believes in this project and believes in Wyoming, that, you know, coming here to Wyoming, right? And I know they like working with Mr. Weck as well, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we've had, other projects that we looked at that, price-wise just didn't work out for us.
Yep.
But in those cases, I contacted, Nick at Creative Home, told him about it. Well, I don't know, and I don't know. I mentioned Wyoming, and he said, "When can you pick me up?"
Yeah.
Drove up there, showed him, and he helped me out.
Yeah, we're excited that, to have them a part of that project, so thank you.
And with the entry and stuff, you have, the apartment's gonna be a big asset.
Yeah.
The tax base for the community is gonna be great. And the hotel, I mean, there's a lot of international people that come to this community, they need a place to stay local.
Yeah.
It's gonna be nice.
What, is it too early to ask what a potential price point for the houses and the row houses and the duplexes are?
The way things are going today, with a couple $1 million. No,
She might hold you to that, so be careful.
I saw the prices on the board here from Hudson. Some of the row homes, I don't know all the prices, but
Okay.
houses, those are something that you have a basic house that looks the same as the neighbor, but this one might be 500, this one might be 380. Just what you do, what kind of trim.
Okay.
Pretty lucrative, lefty kind of design, the interior, won't probably want it, so. But, they're all nice homes, they're very nice homes.
Okay, cool.
I would not want to give you a price today, because I probably wouldn't be too accurate.
That's okay.
All right.
Just asking.
Thank you. All right, so if all the questions have been asked, we don't need to do anything on this, it's just a review. So we're gonna move on to number 20, to consider ordinance 2022-07, and ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, peddlers and solicitors. I'm not sure if it's Mr. Sachs or Mr. Weck.
It'll be me, Miss Mayor. All right. So at the February 15th City Council meeting, council directed staff to amend the solicitor ordinance to include the hours allowed for solicitation, which the council determined would be 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. In the process of doing this, staff discovered there were actually several new state laws that were changed, and so our ordinance was not meeting those requirements. So staff overhauled this ordinance by adding several new sections to comply with the new state laws. Some of just the overall highlights were including a definition section. We didn't have that in our old ordinance. And then we really redefined the application process. Our current application really doesn't ask a lot, and that could be problematic. So that just, really tightens up the security, so we know who's in our community, why they're here, things like that for public safety. So in your packet, we included a red line version as well as the clean version of the proposed ordinance. So staff would be requesting approval of this ordinance. So with that, I'll take any questions.
All right, thank you. So questions from council, we'll start with Member Onstad.
No questions, but nice work.
Member Schilling?
I was gonna say the same thing. Good job on this. Thank you.
Okay. Member Yeager?
And with the transient merchant part of the ordinance, does that supersede our food truck ordinances? Because wouldn't food truck be a transient merchant?
Yep, so Mr. Linwood may speak to this as well. We did have this discussion, and we did check to make sure our language wasn't redundant or canceling each other out, so it shouldn't supersede it. They are two separate things. Mr. Linwood, did you have anything to add to that?
I think you did a nice job, Mr. Sachs, explaining that. We did kind of go through to make sure that there wasn't any confliction with those two different ones, but I think the transient that we did for food trucks last year stands still on its own, so I think there's just a reference to it in here, and it's not real substantial, so I think Mr. Sachs did a good job going through this and trying to be thoughtful to make sure that it coexists with the rest of our ordinance.
So the food truck, you didn't need to fold it into this sucker. Okay, cool, thanks.
All right, Member Luger.
No questions.
All right, and I have none either. We need a motion to approve ordinance 2022-07 and ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, peddler and solicitors. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Luger. Do we have a second by Member Onstad?
Second, yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. 21, to consider resolution 22-03-28, a resolution adopting and approving a summary publication for ordinance 2022-07 and ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, peddler and solicitors. We shouldn't have any questions? Okay, so we need a motion to approve resolution 22-03-28.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 22, to consider ordinance 2022-08 and ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Businesses, Article 3, cigarette, tobacco products. Mr. Sachs?
Yep, Madam Mayor. So this one's been in the works for a while, supersedes my time with the city. So back on August 1st, 2020, the Minnesota Tobacco 21 law went into effect, which increased the legal age to purchase tobacco from 18 to 21. So to comply with that state law, the city's ordinance need to be updated to reflect that change. So city staff has been collaborating with the Public Health Law Center. We've gone back multiple times, just looking at language, making sure it's all consistent, checked for irrelevant, redundant language, and making sure we're compliant with that legal age of 21. So once again, a red line version was included as well as the clean ordinance to be approved, and so staff recommends approving ordinance 2022-08. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Okay. Council have questions?
No questions.
Nope.
Nice
Nope.
cleanup.
Nope, nice, okay,
No,
great.
of the ordinance.
It is,
Yeah.
yes. All right, we need a motion to approve ordinance 2022-08.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Onstad. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Schilling. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. I just want to say, Mr. Sachs, thank you. You've
Yeah.
done a really good job and just such a great addition to the city.
Thank
So
you.
I just wanted to point that out.
And I do just want to mention too, once we get this officially adopted, we're going to send out notices to all the businesses just so they're aware that our ordinance has been updated.
Awesome, thank you. We're gonna go to, do you have a question?
No, I was
Okay,
just
you're stretching, it's been long.
laughing as
Okay,
well.
number 23 is to consider resolution 22-0329, a resolution adopting and approving a summary publication for ordinance 2022-08 and an ordinance amending the City of Wyoming Code of Ordinances, Chapter 12, Businesses, Article 3, cigarette/tobacco products. We do need a motion to approve if there are no questions.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling. We have a second?
Second.
Second by Member Luger. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Number 24, to consider resolution 220330, a resolution reestablishing precincts and polling locations for the City of Wyoming, Minnesota. Mr. Linwood?
Yes.
This might be a little while.
It might be a little bit.
So if you need to stretch, this might be a little bit. Okay, sorry.
No problem. Mayor, members of council. This is ongoing. It was an addition to your Monday packet, but really we've been working over this the last 2 weeks, and we need some clarification from the county auditor on Monday morning, just to try to make sure that we had all kind of our Ts crossed and Is dotted. Essentially, at this point in time, after the census, city governments have to go through and reestablish all precincts after a state redistricting. It can be just routine process that we keep the precinct boundaries the same, and we meet all the legal requirements for this. And then we also can look at the existing precincts don't meet what we need for our city. We basically have those geographic areas that's how we administer our elections. Currently, the city of Wyoming, we have been operating under one precinct. All of our precinct goes to Maranatha Church in the city. We do have currently one of the largest precincts in the state of Minnesota. With that being said, staff had some conversations, like I said, with the county auditor and then internally with the rest of our city staff, really looking at when this is something that's been looked at once before, but really at what point in time is it appropriate to really consider a redistrict or an additional district to help with those polling places in that election process. After looking at multiple reviews with our current staff and county staff and trying to find some consistent population objectives, we did come to, which is included in your packet, a map of that population split right now as of 2020. In your packet, you can see that map. You'll see that southeast side is a little larger, about 4,576, and then that, which I can bring it up here, the top population, or the northeast, being a little less, about 1,000 residents less. Really, when we looked at this, the thought was from staff is we still have development occurring all over the city. You were really seeing our more dense population occurring on the portion between Himes Lake, Summerfields, and now with the potential of this development on the west side, that we'd start to see that evened out. Through this right now, it is not necessary to identify that extra polling place. At this point in time, staff is recommending that we would have the additional precinct, but would still have everyone at this point in time for the 22 elections vote at Maranatha Church, and we would simply have Precinct A, or Precinct 1, and Precinct 2. In the future, staff is going to continue to work to identify an appropriate polling place that would be able to handle adequate parking size for that polling area, to be able to satisfy that and make sure that our process through that is welcoming and easy enough for all of our residents that it doesn't become a headache. Maranatha is a huge facility and it serves us well, but at some point in time as we continue to grow, we just think it's time to look to do a split for that, to really try to ease some of that voting turnout, as we know we have a fantastic turnout here in Wyoming and have a ton of registered voters, and I don't really see that changing. So with that, I can stand for any questions. There is a resolution attached as required by state law that will be forwarded to the county auditor by March 29th, 2022.
Mr. Linwood, I'll start with a couple questions. First of all, who pays for when we do decide to have another precinct? Does the city pay for all the equipment and everything that's involved with that?
So the county right now supplies everything as far as the voting equipment, all the necessary handouts, the poster boards, the training that we do. The city's component of that would be if there was a fee example for Maranatha, we just need to, they're good enough to let us use the whole building for free, other than a cleaning fee. That's the only thing that we have to pay. But then we also do need to pay a wage to our election judges. So that's really the only city cost. Everything else is covered by the county as far as the equipment, the setup, like I said, the paperwork, the ballots, everything is covered by the county.
Okay, and then we would most likely need more precinct judges, more people to bring,
right, potentially
more staff,
potentially through, right. It would essentially, you'd like to think that it would just be an even split where we could take the existing, but we'd want to evaluate that, and we probably would need a few more. We obviously like to err on the side of caution and have more than less for that, because it is a long day and it's a busy day, and we usually have shifts. Hence why we're not really looking at doing this change. Maybe we would look, obviously 22, like I said, keep it at Maranatha. Maybe for the 24 elections, look, or in 23, as we designate a polling place, as we have to do that statutorily, maybe try to identify that new polling place and then be able to really advertise that. Obviously, I know that when we had our changes from when we had the township and the city, we had a polling place here, we had a polling place at the former township, and it took a while for people to understand that it was Maranatha. Obviously, we're going to be, if we do have another polling place change, we'll have to really communicate that well. So, and there are statutory requirements, but we'll obviously go above and beyond to make sure, we want to make sure people know where to go and vote.
Okay, and are there places that you can't have a polling place?
There are certain statutory requirements. You can't have anything contiguous, say at where the alcohol is served, things like that. So You need to make sure that there's, and then just simple things, like I said, to make sure that you have a big enough space for flow of, you know, the traffic of voters, and then obviously parking as well. So we're still identifying that. We have a few leads as far as potential places, and then we have to work obviously with those building owners to make sure that it's something that they want to be part of as well.
Okay, thank you. Member Luker?
No questions.
Member Onstead?
Does the polling place need to be in the precinct? Because I'm noticing that the west side, there's not a lot of buildings that it could be held in there.
It does not. We can still designate it to whatever area of the city we would like.
Okay, Member Schilling?
No, but he answered my premature question if we had something in mind, so no
Alright.
questions.
Member Yeager?
I remember doing this 10 years ago, and where we had to take our 2 precincts and become one, and it was imperative, yada, yada, yada. So, and in that time, population only grew maybe 3%?
I don't know exactly in the last
Oh, I could
time.
probably look at it over here. It looks about 3%. Yeah, it looks about 3%. So, since we had to have it 1 precinct years ago, have we experienced any problems with with having the 1 precinct over the years?
We have actually a couple in 2018 when we had a 3-sided ballot. I don't know if anyone remembers, but if you were there, there were long lines due to the voting machines not being able to. Really not an issue we've had previously, but this is a year where in 2022 I have some concern in regards to if we had another 3-sided ballot. There are, with the redistricting, we could look at many things, including re-election of all of our county commissioners. So there are things to consider as part of this, that we could have a very large ballot. So I am somewhat concerned because last time we had people lined throughout the entirety of Maranatha, and the state recommends an average polling place population of about 2,000 to 2,500. Obviously, we're well above that in just our 1 precinct. So I think it's time to, like I said, not immediately make a change, but I think we want to evaluate and give ourselves the ability to evaluate in the next 10 years if we determine to make a change.
Okay, but there's, except for 2018 with the 3-sided ballot, there hadn't been very many other problems.
No, it's been fine. Yep. That's the only time we really had issues.
And even if you had a 3-sided ballot again this year, if, with everybody at Maranatha, even though it's, you know, normally at Maranatha, it's split into go either
Correct.
side, well, I would assume that one side will be precinct
Correct.
1, the other side precinct
You're
2.
correct, yep.
So you still got the same
It
problem.
still would be the same issues, you're right, but I think with the time period given, I don't think we want to try to make any changes yet. With, you know, I think we have an election, a primary in August, and we have a general in November, and it is already March, and to try to communicate that out, I think we can do that. We have to do, I think statutorily, we have to do it 56 days prior to that, but I
Yeah.
think it's, at this point in time, like I said, I think we want to give ourselves the ability that if we have at Maranatha, keep doing a precinct on one side and precinct 2 on the other, but in the future, to give ourselves that ability over the next 10 years to say, yes, we do want to have another polling place. Yes, it is becoming more difficult to manage. So that's really the thought process on this.
Okay. And how, well, I guess anybody, when you go into Fairview or whatnot, that's just in the other precinct, and that's no problem with polling place. We just do the same what we've been doing.
I'm sorry, for.
When you go into Fairview and you help them vote?
Oh, for the seniors?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's special, I guess, statute for that, but we do, right? We have staff from the county auditor's office and then election judges from the city of Wyoming and city staff that will go there and go through that process. We'll hit the senior living homes, so, right, Fairview Meadows and
Yeah.
assisted, right? That would be we would still be necessary
You
to
still do the
that.
same thing,
Mhm.
even though they're now in just precinct 2?
Right.
Or
We would
one,
still.
whichever you.
Yeah, we would still
number
do
'em.
that for that facility, and if we had any other facilities in Wyoming.
Okay, so how would putting 2 precincts in affect the county redistricting?
That I don't really know how it would affect. I think the county is going through that right now, but that really isn't for, I guess that isn't the intent of this, the intent is for Wyoming. I don't know. I don't believe it will really have any impact that I'm aware of, but I don't want to speak for the auditor, the county commissioners, or the county administrator.
Okay, Commissioner, has there been any discussion of how putting into 2 precincts would affect your redistricting process?
Yes, please.
Well, the county board had a work session that looked at two possible scenarios, one being the same as it is, and the other having North Branch being one commissioner representing it. This process of splitting Wyoming wasn't something that the county board considered. I know that our staff had, commented with you earlier, you're aware of that. So it's really up to you. This might result, I don't know that it would have an effect, but certainly we'll want to look at it to see if it impacts our requirements to have, certain constitutional requirements as we redistrict the county. It might result, by doing this, it might result in Marlis John being representing precinct to the east, but I couldn't say that was certain. Certainly, possibility, perhaps slight possibility.
Isn't it mostly the redistrict, basically it's because we're too big. Not too big, but we need two places. It's not affecting.
I think the short answer to Councilmember Yeager's question is, ultimately, normally when we look at redistricting, whether it's on a county level or state level, they do try and bring districts. And so if you did have two districts, there is a potential that now it's already split, if they thought it made sense from a population standpoint to have them go separately. That does create a potential for it, whereas if it's just one, it's not as likely unless they were to come to you and ask for it, which, again, as Administrator Linwood said, your precinct is quite large, and so it also probably creates challenges when they are trying to even out population for representation, but yes, that's generally correct.
I would say, Madam Mayor, the county board hasn't approached this subject with you. I think the county board, in looking at it, didn't feel it was necessary from our perspective to redistrict. That doesn't preclude, however, the auditor to alert you to your options. So we leave it up to you. It's not something we were recommending, but then again, it is your authority to do it, and we certainly respect whatever.
Thank you. So is this something that if we vote on this tonight, it means that you're just looking, we're keeping it for 2022, but it would be looking at 2024?
This would establish the two precincts.
Okay.
Yes. But it would be the
Staying in
recommendation
the
to
same.
we would keep it all at Maranatha for
Okay.
2022, and then have the ability then over the next 10 years, if we feel, like I said, being that we have, like I said, one of the largest ones in the state of Minnesota, that's why we want the potential for another polling place.
Okay. So with no further questions, we need a motion to approve Resolution 22-03-30, a resolution reestablishing precincts and polling locations for the city of Wyoming, Minnesota. Do we have a motion? We have a motion to approve by Member Schilling, and Mayor Iverson will make that second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. I am going to read number 25 last on the agenda. After I read that, we will then take a 5-minute break.
Do you want to do council reports before that?
Oh yeah, we could do council reports really quick. Council reports really fast. Member Odstep, we'll start with you.
I was
really
at the
fast.
work session prior to this, and that's all that I had. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Awesome, Member Schilling.
Work session prior to this. Thank you all for hanging in there that are still here. Have a good night.
Member Yeager.
What they said.
Okay. And Member Luger.
I attended the Park Advisory Commission meeting as well as the work session prior to this. Thanks for coming.
And I'll keep it fast. I attended the Park Advisory Commission, the EDA, Economic Development Authority, the work session as well, and we're so glad you stayed this long. So thank you very much with that. So I'll read number 25, and then we'll do a 5-minute recess. Number 25, to consider the Wyoming City Council entering a closed session under Minnesota Statute 13D-03 to discuss labor negotiation strategies for the contract with the bargaining unit of law enforcement labor services. And with that, we will go for a 5-minute break. All right. You might want to turn off your